But the problem is, at this age, you start getting scouted.
We're going to call our Post Falls Urban Renewal July 16th meeting to order. Commissioner, roll call, please.
Leffel,
Yes, here.
Coles,
Here.
Flashman,
Here.
Crosby,
Here.
Rodriguez, Parmentier.
Here.
Okay, great.
Commissioner Clemenson will be absent this morning.
Okay, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Ceremonies, appointments, and announcements.
I do not have any this morning.
Okay. Conflict disclosure. Does anyone have any conflict disclosure? Okay. Consent calendar.
Well, good morning, Commissioners. Item A in the consent calendar is the Commission meeting minutes, May 21st, 2026. Item B is the Communication, Property, and Personnel Committee meeting minutes of May 21st, 2026. Item C is the Finance and Policy Committee meeting minutes from June 18th, 2026. And item D is the Commission workshop minutes from July 7th, 2026. Item E is the payables for this month totaling $8,948.83. Item F is the bank activity report, which shows total funds in all accounts of $5,391,427.94, and accrued interest for the month of $12,497.63. Item G is the financial reports as of June 30th. And lastly, the June payables are being included for ratification purposes only as a result of our June commission meeting having been canceled. Approval of the consent calendar will authorize a transfer of $8,948.83 to the First Interstate checking account for the monthly payables and $12,497.63 accrued interest to the general fund. Madam Chair, I would answer any questions.
I don't have any questions. Does anyone else on the commission have questions?
Move to approve the consent.
Second the
calendar.
motion.
Roll call vote.
Right. Leffel,
Aye.
Coles,
Aye.
Flashman,
Aye.
Crosby,
Aye.
Rodriguez,
Aye.
Parmentier.
Aye.
Motion pass. Okay, moving on to committee updates. We've got Finance and Policy.
Finance and Policy Committee met this month and reviewed and clarified the fiscal year 2027 budget prior to the budget workshop. We also discussed extensively the annual administrative fee charged to each of our districts and revised that and presented that to the full commission at its budget workshop. And we reviewed the bank activity report that was just approved.
Great, thank you. District review, that is me. I have nothing to report. We have a meeting immediately following today. Communications, Property, and Personnel. Clemenson is absent.
I am acting as Eric's representative, and we have nothing to report.
Okay. Moving right along, citizen comments. This section of the agenda is reserved for citizens wishing to address the commission regarding an agency-related issue. Comments related to future public hearings should be held for that public hearing. Persons wishing to speak will have 5 minutes. Doesn't look like we have anyone speaking, so we'll move on to unfinished business.
Commissioners, pardon me. Our first item of unfinished business is the annual administrative fee proposal for fiscal year 2027. I'm going to switch over to a presentation here, short presentation. can. Okay. As presented at the January 7th Commission workshop and revised as discussed at the workshop, we're proposing to transition from a flat fee to one that's more directly tied to projected fiscal year operating expenses. First step in this process would be to, in calculating the administrative fee, would be to take the total projected agency operating expenses minus projected interest revenues to come up with a balance of remaining operating expenses to be funded via the administrative fees. The balanced fund would then be divided by the number of districts to determine what that annual administrative fee is per district. Subsequent step would be the balanced fund could be divided by the total projected increment tax revenues, and that would result in the agency's administrative fee represented as a percentage. It would be computed annually as a part of the annual budget process. It would be presented during the annual budget process as a percentage of the total increment revenues. It would be reported to proponents and participants upon approval of the annual budget in August, and it would be documented in the semi-annual reimbursement notification letters to proponents and participants. The benefits of this proposal, of this fee based on operating costs, is that it would create initially it'd be transparency, or primarily transparency. It does create the direct relationship between operating expenses and our funding, our need for funding, our funding. It is a simple annual calculation. It's easy to explain to proponents and participants. It increases sustainability as the agency is less dependent on the number of districts, and it improves long-term agency budgeting forecasts. It allows improved fiscal flexibility for the agency as the general fund remains a reserve that generates interest income to offset expenses associated with new or underperforming districts, and provides the potential to fund agency and city projects or unforeseen needs. The current budget, as proposed and approved for publishing at our budget workshop, when this process is applied, the projected operating expenses for fiscal year 27 total $198,499, minus our estimated interest income revenue of $49,000 creates a balance of $149,499. Step 2 in the process is to divide that number by the number of districts. You end up with the amount of $49,833, which equates to our proposed fiscal year 27 administrative fee. And then step 2B, or the additional step, was to take that, the amount of our balance to fund, divide that by the projected total increment revenues that we anticipate for the fiscal year, and that equates to 5.3%, which is by all means in line with other agencies within the state of Idaho. Let's see. So, Madam Chair, I would answer any questions.
I don't have any questions. Does anyone else have any questions on this?
No questions, but I think this is very fair and very well thought out and easy to explain, which is kind of nice.
I move the approval of
Second.
the revision to the annual administrative fee.
Second?
Roll call vote?
Level,
Aye.
Fleshman,
Aye.
Parmentier,
Aye.
Rodriguez,
Aye.
Coles,
Aye.
Crosby.
Aye.
Right, motion carries. Okay, moving on.
This will switch over in just a moment. But our next item is Welch-Comer amended task order number 26-01, having to do with Beyond Green Incorporated reimbursement submittal. Task order 2601 was approved by the Commission on March 19th, 2026, for the purpose of engaging Welch-Comer engineers to conduct a complete review of Beyond Green Incorporated's reimbursement submittal in the Post Falls Technology District. Welch-Comer has completed their comprehensive review and found some costs as non-qualifying and others in need of additional supporting documentation before they can be considered as qualifying. Since the agency's semi-annual reimbursement process will occur in August, Beyond Green Incorporated requested that, and the agency has agreed, for the Commission to consider an initial August reimbursement of the qualifying costs while allowing time for BGI to provide additional documentation for those in question. BGI will have until October 31st to submit the additional cost supporting information. Welch-Comer's amended task order 26-01 is for consultation and review fees associated with the agency's extension of BGI's reimbursement submittal. For consideration is the authorization of myself, Director Johns, to sign and return amended task order 26-01 to Welch-Comer. We also have in attendance Matt Gillis from Welch-Comer, who oversees the reimbursement package review process.
Do we have any questions on this?
I'd like to hear from Mr. Gillis, particularly with regard to the areas that were lacking in documentation that you found that you couldn't, approve the information that had been provided.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Matt Gillis, Welch-Comer. I have met most of you, don't know some of you. Would it be helpful to give a 1-minute explanation of what it is in the process that we provide to you? Would that be helpful before I answer that question?
Yes.
Okay. So you as a board, along with staff, meet with a proponent, strike a owner participation agreement, OPA, that essentially says, this is what we'll reimburse you for, provided there is increment available. Once that gets struck, a couple of years goes by, they go build the improvements, then they come back to you for reimbursement. That package comes to us. The first thing we do is, one, we verify that they are in fact complete. The second thing we do is ensure that the city has accepted that infrastructure as a public benefit. And then we receive their submittal. And in our view, the burden's on them to give us a sufficient submittal, a well put together submittal that we can then reimburse from. If it's a poor submittal and not everything's included, we don't chase them, essentially. The burden's on them. So then we take their submittal and we do this two separate ways. One, we will do an independent estimate of our own based on our understanding of the construction prices when it was done. Okay, so we have an idea of what the current market was. So we put together our own estimate of the items that are public infrastructure only. Okay, all the stuff that's on private property, that's not a public benefit, so therefore is not reimbursable. The second thing we do is we run a second estimate where we look at all of their receipts and then we look at them for, is this a reasonable cost or is this an eligible cost? One of the common ones we get are legal fees. Well, you don't pay for any legal fees. Another one is the district has a policy on how much soft cost you will pay. You probably know this, so stop me. Soft costs are the engineering, the planning, those types of things. You'll pay about 12%, up to 12% of the hard costs, which is all the infrastructure and the stuff that gets built. So we run those two separate, and then we put together a letter summarizing all that with a recommendation of what we would recommend that you reimburse provided increments available. In the case of this project, there's the couple of the big ones are they asked for reimbursement for a host of items outside the public right-of-way. In other words, on private property. Your policy is, nope, if there's a line here and it's outside that line, we cannot pay for it. We can't reimburse for it. Another one was the proponent had a deal with the city to reimburse for a portion of the roundabout. They asked for reimbursement for that roundabout. We saw that as double dipping. So if there's some other arrangement, they haven't provided it to us, and so we excluded that. Then there were just costs that we felt that were exorbitant. One of them was excavation. It seemed like they were asking for excavation of the entire site as we kind of back calculated things, as opposed to just what was within the public right-of-way. So Commissioner Crosby, those are a few of the highlights.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Yeah, thanks, Matt, for explaining that too, not just
Yeah.
for us, but also for documentation for the community as well, for
You're welcome.
transparency. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
And I do have a piece of information, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Waiting. All right.
Okay. This is an action item.
Move to approve the Welch-Comer amended task order 26-1.
I second the motion.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Rodriguez,
Aye.
Leffel,
Aye.
Fleshman,
Aye.
Coles,
Aye.
Parmentier,
Aye.
Crosby.
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries.
One question for you, Joe. We gave the proponent a timeline for resubmitting costs that were declined or denied, and what is that timeline?
So we've given them a deadline of October 31st
October 31st.
to provide the necessary documentation, information for, I guess, what would be considered a subsequent reimbursement to take place ideally in February.
Okay.
That's the
And
target.
if they miss that
That's the goal.
timeline, basically, that's.
Well, our intention is to have this submittal package that they've provided to us wrapped up, done, complete, a bow on it, put away in February.
And the reimbursement for that, if the reimbursement overall was expanded by virtue of the additional information they submitted, that would not come until the next time we actually make a reimbursement, correct?
Right. The current fund balance is in the Post Falls Technology District exceeds the recommendation of reimbursement that's been provided by Welch-Comer. So should the order of approval that we're going to be considering next, as well as the approval of the reimbursement at the August meeting take place, should those approvals be given, we would provide them with a check in August after the commission meeting for the initial reimbursement. And then we will continue through the review process, determine what that additional number will be, and go through this order of approval process a second time for the subsequent reimbursement. And ideally, we will have those funds available in February. If the amount exceeds what's remaining in the district fund, then that reimbursement would also continue on to August of 2027.
Joe, have you heard communication back from them since you told them this process and their intentions?
Yes, I've been in communication with them, and I have scheduled a meeting with them on July 29th. Myself, a couple of the representatives of BGI, and Councilor Bradison.
Okay, and at that meeting, we're going to make clear that the additional engineering costs are going to basically reduce their payment
Right. I'm currently working through a letter that they've provided to us that arrived on Monday. It brought up a number of issues, so I'm addressing those point by point. And included in that will be the fact that the amended tax order, task order 2601 was approved. Those additional costs based upon agency policy 16 can be collected out of the reimbursement and the increment. And so I will inform them of this additional amount or the potential for it. That amount is yet to be known pending, billing by Welch-Comer as we go through this process. But yes, that will be part of it.
Thank you. Appreciate that clarification.
I have one question. What's the schedule, the proposed schedule that we're providing them? Where's the teeth for that in our agreement with them? I guess I'm trying to understand it. Obviously, a disorganized mess at best, and it's been drug out. But what's the basis? Is there a policy that says you have this amount of time to? If you don't, we don't pay, or?
Well, there's the deadline in the OPA as far as the construction will be completed by such and such a date.
Okay.
That's just for construction of the improvements. In terms of the submittal, that type of activity is dependent upon the city's approval of the or acceptance of the improvements.
Right.
When they get everything together from their contractors and they're able to package it up, submit it. The subsequent process of review by Welch-Comer, the timeline for that is open to being dependent upon the resources they can allocate to that task. So as far as a deadline, the present deadline that we are in agreement with BGI on is October 31st for submission of the additional documentation they say they can acquire to support
So it's a mutual
additional
agreement. It's a mutual agreement then.
Yeah, yes, it's been communicated in writing, but as far as any form of a signed document, anything of that nature, no.
The ultimate deadline is the maturity of the district. Once the district matures,
Right.
we cannot disperse them any additional funds, and they understand that.
Right.
So, because even if we'd accrued tax increment, those tax increments that would been collected in that district would then be paid back to each of the taxing districts.
Right.
They're getting in line. Basically, they have to get in line too.
Yeah.
In theory, they should be financially incentivized.
Well, I understand it. I understand everything that's been said on the board here completely as from the other side of the table.
Right.
It's mind-boggling. But I'm just trying to understand in terms of, because it seemed a little bit because until the thing closes, if they're, 2 years from now, if they show up with a request, what is the, if it's still, there's money and it's still open, is there anything that says, unless they sign an agreement that says this is final payment and we're done, it seems like they still have that opportunity, right?
Well, our communication to them and the letter that will accompany each reimbursement spells out how much remaining obligation the agency has based upon the approval of reimbursements. Once that obligation zeroes out, there's a statement within the letter that this is the final for that particular approval. And then that submittal is what we would consider closed and wrapped up.
Okay.
Good question.
Yes.
That's the one that's closes the book.
Yeah.
Okay.
It seems like, after listening to Commissioner Parmenteur's question, it seems like it might be worthwhile for us to consider in a future workshop some sort of a method to encourage a better submittal or some consequence follows. I'm not sure how we would do that at this point in time, but at least to have that discussion, because I think it would be beneficial to all the districts if there's a clear cut, if you don't get your stuff in a reasonable amount of time within certain parameters, we do not have any more obligations with you. And might be worth considering.
Well, right now, the teeth in it is that because of the extra time that's gonna be spent, is you're gonna lose X dollars, up to $10,000 according to this work order, is gonna come out of your side of the equation because
Right.
that's kind of the only penalty we have, right? If you wanna call it a penalty for a poor
Correct.
Also, opportunity costs lost on the interest from the money they haven't received.
Right,
Yes.
I don't know, it doesn't sound like they're quite that sophisticated, but anyway. So,
They actually are motivated presently by that particular item. The bulk of our capital improvements fund that's invested with the local government investment pool, the State Treasurer's Office, are Post Falls Technology District funds. The interest gained on that account is what is reported on a monthly basis. It's that $12,000 amount, and they are well aware of that. Yes.
Great. Good conversation. Glad we had that. This is an action item. Did we already finalize that?
This, yes, the action would be to authorize me to sign Task Order 2601, and a motion was made by Commissioner Coles, and seconded by Crosby, and was carried through
Yeah.
to be accepted.
Okay, great.
All right. So it is evident, the information is on your iPads. Apologize that it's not presently coming up on the screen. It is the order of approval for Beyond Green Incorporated, well, let's see if it recognizes it here shortly. The order of approval was drafted by Councilor Bredesen. It is for the reimbursement of qualifying project costs submitted by Beyond Green Incorporated for their development project in Zone C of the Post Falls Technology District, as documented in the letter of recommendation from Welch-Comer and attached as Exhibit A. BGI's requested reimbursement amount totals $7,470,538.47. The recommendation of initial qualifying project cost reimbursement totals $3,629,459.59. Madam Chair, I would answer any questions.
I have no questions. Does anyone else have any additional questions? Okay.
This is the amount that we've been referring to in our conversation as the initial amount, correct?
Correct.
3.6 million, with the balance of 3.8 million subject to further documentation and review. Yes?
A number of those items, yes, subject to additional documentation and review. There are a number of costs that simply do not qualify. So documentation on those, if they're outside the boundary of the urban renewal district,
Right.
if they don't fall within the boundaries of public rights of way, or the list of project improvements or public improvements that are listed within our owner participation agreement with BGI, those costs fall out of the reconsideration process.
I would move the approval of the order of approval.
Second?
Roll call vote?
Leffel,
Aye.
Coles,
Aye.
Fleshman,
Aye.
Crosby,
Aye.
Rodriguez,
Aye.
Parmentier.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. All right, moving on to new business.
New business. We do not have any new business items.
Okay, staff reports and updates.
Just a couple of quick items to report on. The quarterly meeting of the executive committee and city staff took place on July 8th. My notes from that meeting have been distributed. Hopefully you've had a chance to read through those. Secondly, the commission and city council will hold a joint workshop at 5 p.m. next Tuesday, July 25th in the second floor conference room at City Hall. The joint workshop agenda has been posted and sent out. That concludes my staff report.
Okay. Do we have any commissioner comments?
I just want to thank Matt Gillis for his work and also for his explanation, so we appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other comments? Chairman comments? I just want to say great job to the finance and policy as well as Joe for the annual administrative fee proposal. I think that that's great. That's going to do, I think it's fair. And yeah, I just appreciate your guys' work on that. And I don't have any other comments. So with that, I think we may adjourn.